What's up, everybody? Good afternoon. Hope you guys are doing well, and we are continuing the series that we started a little bit earlier today. We are taking a look at Seattle Seahawks outgoing free agents and evaluating how much it might cost to keep them and whether or not it makes sense to do so. So, the earlier video was the big gun. I think we all understand that Ernest Jones is the most compelling free agent outgoing on this team by far. Everybody else is going to seem pretty small in comparison, but we're still going to do all of them and try to evaluate them the best that we can. And let's go ahead and get started with Stone Forsythe. Stone Forsythe, I think I know where most people's heads are going to be when trying to figure out if Forsythe needs to stick around or not. But we got to have a conversation about it first. We got to go through our due diligence and understand what is going to be the price. Now, I don't think there's going to be any interest in bringing Forsythe back. He did play a pretty good amount last year, and while he was playing out of position, he played poorly, and the coaching staff that was here when we drafted Stone Forsythe is not here anymore. We had, Andy Dickerson when we drafted Forsythe, I think? I think it was Andy Dickerson. And now we have Scott Huff, and we may have somebody else in a couple weeks. So there's no commitment. There's no affection that this coaching staff has towards Forsythe. The only guy who might is Schneider, and I don't think Schneider really does because the results haven't been particularly good. And he's 27 years old now. If there was something good here, we probably would have seen it. But nevertheless, looking at what he's done for the Seahawks over his 4-year career, he has played in most games that he was made available for. He did have one injury in 2024 that did keep him out for an extended period of time. But other than that, he was relatively healthy. He did start 8 games in 2023. And I will say this, Stone Forsythe is a guy who we routinely put in terrible situations. He's forced to play on the right side when he should be playing on the left side. He's forced to play in Ryan Grubb's offense, where the tackles don't get protected at all, and the tackles are just left to starve, basically. Nevertheless, that's not all the stuff that Forsythe has been through. Like, you look at Forsythe's rookie year, it's pretty good, but he only played 14 snaps. Ever since then, he was one of the worst tackles in the league the next year, not that he played much more. In 2023, it was seemingly headed in an okay direction, 58.2 on 500 snaps. But then last year, the bottom drops out, and he's back to being one of the worst players in football once again. And this is a meaningful sample size, too. This is 414 snaps. This means something. So, Stone Forsythe, there are some real issues here. And at this point, I think we can conclude they're not going to get much better. I think they would get better if we had a better offensive coordinator and if we had a better understanding of what side of the offensive line Stone Forsythe should be playing on. He's mostly been on the right side. I think he's a left tackle at the end of the day. But by the way, we're probably about to give over $100 million to our starting left tackle. There isn't a lot of money to give to a backup left tackle anymore anyway. Should be doing that for as cheap as possible, or spend a little bit more and go get somebody actually reliable. But if you're trying to figure this out, we're going to go to SpoTrack. We're going to sort by the average annual value of all tackles across the league. And we're obviously going to have to scroll way, way down. We're not touching any of these big contracts. Stone Forsythe probably doesn't even have the... I'm sure he has some degree of shame in his body and would never ask for anything more than $5 million a year. So let's go down to Yosh Nijman of the Carolina Panthers, who got $4 million a year last offseason. 2 years, $8 million with the Carolina Panthers. You start looking at Yosh Nijman. Excuse me, that's how you pronounce it. Yosh Nijman. And you kind of feel like there's a little bit of a crossover here. He spent his first several years in Green Bay with the Packers, played some left, played some right, so he's kind of a swing tackle. And he actually had one season where he started most of the games. He had another season where he started about half the games. So he's actually, in some ways, there's lines of commonality you can draw with Yosh here and Forsythe. The thing is, you go to Pro Football Focus, and look, we're 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 putting a lot of faith in Pro Football Focus being right here, of course. But okay, this rookie year doesn't mean anything. He played 14 snaps, but slightly below average tackle in 2021, about average in 2022. These are significant sample sizes, by the way. About average in 2023. Like, Yosh is Stone Forsythe if Stone Forsythe was decent, right? Like, Stone Forsythe is a very poor man's version of Yosh Nijman, right? So we're in the right part of the conversation, but we're definitely not there yet. So Nijman just a lot better than Forsythe. We're definitely not where we are monetarily, where we need to be. So let's keep going down the list here, and let's take a look at somebody like a Mekhi Becton of the Eagles. So Mekhi Becton played out his rookie deal contract with the Jets and signed a 1 year, $2.75 million contract with the Philadelphia Eagles. So he's still actually playing football. He's going to be in the Super Bowl in a couple weeks here. And you could kind of sort of draw a line here with Mekhi Becton. This is a guy who showed potential, played well as a rookie in 2020, some real promise. And then he basically missed 2 seasons with an injury, came back in 2023, played, I mean, not really all that good, but he played, and then he gets the second deal with the Eagles. So you're basically leaning on 2020 here in hoping that Becton can reclaim his status as a really good young player because he was the 11th overall pick. He was supposed to be a star. So you look at the most recent year where he actually played the whole season, it's not good. He was well below average among guards. This guy ended up bumping inside to guard at this point, and he still wasn't really doing anything all that notable. Now, he's playing well for the Eagles now, but you didn't know he was going to play well for the Eagles until after he signed with them. But at the end of the day, we're still not there yet. The thing with Becton is that he had immense potential on the back of his talent and his draft pedigree. There was excitement and interest in drafting Becton, or excuse me, signing Becton because of that. Forsythe doesn't have that. He was a 6th round pick. There's very little talent there. There's something, but it's not on the level of Becton. So we still got to keep going. What about a guy like a Colton McKivitz? Colton McKivitz of San Fran, 2 off seasons ago, got 2 years, 4.6 million, so 2.3 million per. Are we in the right territory now? Well, 5th round pick, very similar to where Forsythe was taken in the draft, right? You can see that he started a handful of games over the first 3 years of his career, and then he became a full-time starter after that, but he became a full-time starter in 2023, and as you can see, that was after he got the extension. So, granted, he was barely playing those first 3 years, and then he got that extension, but okay, a rookie season well below average, but not terrible on 300 snaps. The next year, still pretty bad. The next year though, it's only 68 snaps, but this is more than Forsythe ever showed, right? This is more than Stone Forsythe ever gave us. And clearly the coaching staff liked what they saw with McKivitz, and they've been rewarded on that. They made him the full-time starter, and he's been doing fairly well. Forsythe is not being made a long-term starter if he gets signed here. So I think we're still searching here. We're close. We're starting to get into that territory here where we can draw a clean and sensible comparison. But I want to keep going down. I want to take a look at Trenton Scott of the Washington Commanders. 2 years, 3 million, so that's 1.5 million per year. So Trenton Scott, let's take a look here. Bounced around the league for the first 5 years of his career. Chargers, Panthers, Steelers. Played tackle, played guard, started several games, but was never a full-time starter. Kind of looks familiar, right? You look at these first 5 years, you might think of Stone Forsythe. It might make you think, this guy's a little Stone Forsythe in terms of how much he played. And Pro Football Focus, they thought he was about below average, but not bad his rookie year. Only 125 snaps. They thought he was bad the next year on a pretty full slate of snaps, huh? Okay. The next year, below average, but not bad. 350 snaps. Next year, really bad. Oof. All the way sub 40. Okay. Pretty decent sample size, too. He does have this kind of breakout year right before he gets the contract from the Commanders, because the contract with the Commanders was 2023. So he's got this, which Forsythe doesn't have, but it's only 31 snaps at the same time, right? So we're in the right ballpark now. This is the right idea here. Trenton Scott, Colton McKivitz, this is the territory we're in. So trying to split the difference here a little bit. Let's remember the cap has gone up since these deals got signed. This was 2 years ago they got signed. So we're probably saying something like 2 years, $3.5 million for Stone Forsythe. So that'd be $1.75 million per year. Probably very little guaranteed, so you can easily cut him after 1 year if you don't like what you see. So that's the number I'm going with. 2 years, $3.5 million for Forsythe. And would I do that? No, I don't think we need to. I think that he's meant to be a left tackle. We're about to give Cross a bunch of money to be our left tackle for the foreseeable future. And the way I see it, at that point, you need to either go very cheap at the position and get somebody who's like a day 3 rookie or UDFA to save money, or you need to go out and get a genuinely reliable backup. Forsythe bridges the gap between those two things in a way that leaves me uninspired. It's like a sitting on the fence option between those two things, and I don't want to sit on the fence. All right, let me know what you guys think. I'll see you guys later. Go Hawks.